Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I would like to say, first and foremost, I'm very happy to be joined by the Consumers Union and my good friend, Ms. Odabashian, if I always say it right, and I'm learning that as we go. Noel is here as well, and they're going to introduce themselves as they come up for the cameras, and that way you guys can get their correct spelling. But first and foremost, let me say, tomorrow we have a hearing of the Senate Food and Ag Committee, and as you know, when we took over the Food and Ag Committee, we wanted to make an emphasis on food safety and food security. And so we've also, we're going to be talking tomorrow about the peanut salmonella issue. And as you probably know, in California and throughout the nation, we had about 2,500 products that were affected. You might know the statistics, 654 people in the nation, 44 states. In California alone, 62 people were sickened. And just to put a human face on this, when you get Salmonella, E. coli, or the things that Californians have faced over the last couple of years, it doesn't just go away after the recall is completed. It doesn't just go away after they've been reported to a hospital. Many, many times they have dialysis for the rest of their life. Their families are affected. People lose their jobs. So just so you know that when these things occur, they occur in a way that have long-term ramifications for their own health. And our committee is very, very concerned about the food safety situation, not just in the nation. I know that President Obama is going to be working very hard on that, but for Californians, we need to protect and make sure that we protect our own. And I can tell you one thing, at least in this peanut scare, and that is 62 Californians pretty much had one thing in common. They all walked out of a grocery store with a tainted product. They absolutely walked out and they were sickened. And we want to see that practice ended in California. We absolutely want to make sure that when we have products recalls that are so big that everyone needs to participate in the recall system. And we are turning our attention with the bill that we've introduced, SB 550. And the reason that we're using a bill is we would like to make sure that our supermarkets and grocery stores are participating in food safety as well. And I know some of them are, but some of them aren't. And I think that's the question, and the reason for the bill is we'd like to see more consistency. I can tell you that national recalls are very confusing to consumers. I would venture to ask any of you here or anyone in California which of the 2,500 products they have currently in their pantry, or to name 20 of the 2,500 products that were recalled. And that's the issue, is that even though we may have recalls and 2,500 products are, in essence, told to consumers not to buy, in many cases that's met way after the fact. In fact, tomorrow in the hearing we're going to talk about a recall that started a year early, and by the time that we caught up with it, consumers had bought a good portion of these products, and many of which are in their pantry. We need to fix that system, and in California we do know that there is one line of defense, and that is the supermarket, the scanner, and the ability to stop that product right at the point of sale. So this bill is trying to literally change that process in a way that would be more friendly to consumers. We do know that products literally are changing in recalls by the hour. So when we heard about the peanut recall, it isn't as though they said, here are the 2,500 products right now. It started with 30 products, and then 40, and then 100, and then it went to 2,000 and 2,100. And the goal is that as these product recalls are occurring real time, we need to make sure that our stores and grocery stores are keeping up with that in a real-time basis. And we believe that protection at the scanner, protection at the, if you will, the checkout line is the most appropriate way to go. So we want to make sure that this checkout system is the last line of defense for consumers, so that 66 Californians aren't walking out with tainted product, so that we can go back and notify those who bought products a year early in many cases, so they can be notified that in essence they need to take those products off their own shelf in a much more precise way than our current announcement system through California. So this bill, SB 55, is going to ask that our folks, particularly grocery stores, do what Kroger does, do what Ralph does in many cases. That there are technologies today that work. These technologies are working in certain parts of the state, believe it or not, in California, but they're not everywhere. They shouldn't just be in some stores and they should be in other stores. Our job is to make sure that every grocery store that has a scanner can look at their particular technology to revamp their software in a way that when you run a Cliff Bar, just like this Cliff Bar right here, and you run it through the scanner, that is stopped. And ironically, this was bought this morning. This is a recalled item. in California today. So when the scanner isn't stopping this and it's still on the shelf, there's a problem for consumers in California. This is a system that absolutely needs to change right at the scanner, real time. And this is my staff person went to buy this morning, and this is a recalled item. There are other items behind me in many cases that were stopped. My staffer went this morning and bought some of these items here, which everyone knows went through. But in many cases, there was one product that was stopped, and it was stopped at a Safeway store. And so we know that there are retailers who are practicing some of these in many ways that are good things, but many times they aren't. And so we have to have consistency. So I would simply say that this bill is a call for consistency, and it's a call for every store in California to be that last line of defense. Whether you're a Costco, whether you're a Safeway, whether you're a Ralph's in California, the goal is to make sure that not one product that a consumer walks out with, not one product that a parent walks out with, not one product that somebody walks out and thinks is safe shouldn't get past that scanner. And this legislation says right up front, it will not be scanned, it will be stopped, you will not be able to buy it, you will be asked and told that this is a recalled item, and therefore you are going to hopefully know that you're walking out of that store with a grocery bag of safe products. And I want to make sure that everyone understands this is not just about peanut butter. Peanut butter was the classic example with so many products affected, with so many SKUs in our stores, 2,500 individual products. We know our grocery stores have the capacity. They can change a price. They can put a warning on these things. And so we want to make sure our grocery stores are participating. We do want to congratulate some of the stores that are participating in this program, but we're trying to get 100% participation rate in California. So hopefully most of those grocery stores who will be supporting this legislation, and we hope to get their, in many cases, support moving this through. Tomorrow, we have an opportunity at our hearing to talk to those grocery stores. So during the hearing of the Food and Agriculture Committee, we're going to have an opportunity to talk to our grocery stores and ask them what is the status about implementing this type of legislation throughout California. We think it's the right thing for supermarkets to do. We know that consumers would absolutely want this. And let's just face it, California has not had a good history with recalls, whether it was the beef recall, whether it was the spinach recall, whether it was the lettuce that we've had. Every issue somehow goes back to the producer. We will continue to work and make sure that that is still on our agenda. But right now, this is the last line of defense. Every consumer that buys baby food, every consumer that buys an item needs to know that what's put in their baby's mouth or put in their own mouth needs to be safe. And if there's a recall, there's no reason for these products to be back on the shelf. There's no reason for someone to be able to walk into a store and buy this today in California if there's a scanner working. And we absolutely need to change the situation here. We believe SB 550 is a very feasible solution. We know that the burden shouldn't fall on working men and women and parents. The burden should fall, in many cases, on government enforcing the laws that say that our food should be safe, and that we should push our retailers and grocers to help us in this endeavor going forward. So with that, I'd like to, if I could, have the Consumers Union come say a few words, and then we're going to have folks talk right after that, and we'll take questions. So let me see if you might come up.
Good morning. My name is Elisa Odebashian. I'm the West Coast Director of Consumers Union, the nonprofit publisher of Consumer Reports magazine. The recent Salmonella outbreak having to do with peanut products, this is the largest recall in U.S. history, has sickened nearly 700 people, killed 9 across 44 states. The contaminated products came from just one small company, the Peanut Corporation of America. There were 2 of its processing facilities that put out contaminated products, one in Georgia and one in Texas. And these products reflect just 2% of the peanut products that are out there. And still, potentially contaminated ingredients affected many different products that were distributed through various channels and consumers in various places. So, as the Senator said, over 2,000 products have now been voluntarily recalled by over 200 companies. And the list grows daily. It's not stopping. And in January, the recall was expanded to some pet food. Animals are also sickened by salmonella, and the people who handle this pet food are also at risk. So how did this happen? This happened because our Federal Food and Drug Administration, which is charged with overseeing the safety of many of the foods in the food supply, is broken. It's just completely broken. It inspects food processing facilities like these two facilities on average once every 10 years. It inspects less than 1% of the food products coming in from other countries. It doesn't have enough money for inspectors or enforcement. It doesn't have mandatory recall authority to take contaminated products off the shelves or to close down facilities like the Peanut Corporation of America. We at Consumers Union are working with Congress members Durbin, Dingell, and DeLauro on their bills that would revamp the FDA and bring many of these needed reforms. But in the meantime, consumers are vulnerable. They are very much able to go into stores. I, too, went into a store last week and saw a box of these crunchy peanut butter Cliff Bars at the checkout stand, right by the cash register, and I told the cashier that these products were recalled, that they're not to be sold, and the cashier had no idea, said he hadn't been informed, and he took them. He also wanted to know who the heck I was. But I could do that probably 10 times today if I tried. In the meantime, this legislation, SB 550, will go a long way in protecting consumers at the checkout stand. It's an alert system that will allow employees of stores, and I'm not saying that these stores are egregiously bad actors. They have many, many products, and this particular recall affected thousands of products. So they're not necessarily at fault, but it would alert them at the checkout stand and then alert consumers, too, that they're about to buy either an FDA or USDA recalled product. An interesting national poll came out last week, commissioned by Harvard, that said a whopping 93% of Americans know about the peanut recall, but they really don't get which products are affected. For instance, they mistakenly think the national peanut butter brands are affected, which in most cases is not the case. But they're not worried at all about snack bars or ice cream or baked products or even dry roasted peanuts. They're not worried at all about those products, and they should be. So this bill is an important proactive measure that protects Californians. It should be taken state by state, and we really applaud Senator Florez for bringing it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Pedro Murillas. I'm the legislative advocate for CalPERG, the California Public Interest Research Group. CalPERG is a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization that stands up to powerful interests on behalf of Californians' health and well-being. Consumers' beliefs that our food safety systems are working properly have been shattered by the many recent recalls involving tainted meat and produce. Lax oversight, agency cutbacks, surging imports have resulted in an unprecedented number of recalls involving everything from salmonella-laced peppers to E. coli and spinach to the most recent peanut scare. Unfortunately, our food can't be guaranteed safe 100% of the time. But when it is determined to be unsafe, this bill, Senator Florez' bill, SB 550, will get that information directly to consumers so that they can protect themselves. Senator Florez' bill will provide consumers with important information about the safety of their food directly from the person selling it to them, because at the end of the day, consumers shouldn't have to rely on the evening news to tell them that the food in their pantry could make them sick. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Noelle Ferdon. I'm the senior organizer for the food program with Food and Water Watch. Food and Water Watch is a national nonprofit consumer advocacy organization. We work to ensure clean water and safe food. We carry out our mission by empowering people to transform the way the public thinks about what they're eating and drinking, as well as taking action. On behalf of Food and Water Watch, I am pleased to announce our support for SB 550, introduced by Senator Florez. A strong food safety system is essential to protecting consumer health and safety. And we applaud this effort to ensure that the food sold within the borders of California remains safe. We do believe that programmable checkout scanners in the marketplace will provide the additional security that recalled products are kept off of consumer shelves. While addressing these problems in a comprehensive way will ultimately require bold federal action by the Food and Drug Administration, including passage of the bills mentioned by Consumers Union, specifically Deloro's Food Modernization Act, we really believe that Senate Bill 550 here in California is an important first step in the meantime in the right direction towards providing a safer and better regulated food system. We very much look forward to working with Senator Florez on this bill.
Good morning. I am Ignacio Hernandez, and I am the legislative advocate for the Consumer Federation of California. We are a coalition of individuals and organizations throughout California advocating on behalf of consumers. I want to thank the Senate Majority Leader for bringing forward SB 550, and not to repeat what the earlier speakers have already said, but let me just point out that we've worked on a lot of consumer issues, and really the best way to protect consumers is to provide them with information so that consumers can go out and do their own due diligence and advocate on behalf of themselves and protect themselves. However, in this context, when there are so many recalled products, it is impossible for even the most diligent consumers to take every avenue possible to protect themselves and their families. When you have over 2,500 or 2,200 products, there's really no way for a consumer to know which products are safe, which ones have been recalled. And really the most effective way is to have a safety net at the point of sale. And that's what this bill does. It provides safe product technology that's already being used. It's good for consumers, it's good for retailers, and it's good for California. It really brings out the best in government. Government should play a role in protecting consumers. And let me just say, as a parent, over the last 6 months or so, I've had a number of instances where I've purchased food which I was able to look on the recall list and find it should not have been there. And it should not be in my home. And I'm fortunate enough to have caught that. But we have to give consumers the confidence that whenever they go into a grocery store, whenever they go to a retailer, that store is working with them to protect not only them, but also their families. I want to thank the Majority Leader for bringing this bill.
Okay. Any questions? Let me just say thank you to everyone for participating. I think you know that food safety is probably one of the bigger priorities for the Food and Ag Committee. This bill is one of those common sense bills. You kind of wonder, why isn't everyone doing this already? Particularly when it has to do mostly with software. This isn't about stores having to purchase new scanners. This is simply the ability, and let me tell you how I kind of view this. It would be my vision for California, and that is when we do have a recall and it's official. And these recalls and these products are changing every minute as we move through the week. I would hope that the federal government would be able to provide a site where our retailers and grocers could download information, that it could simply match the product on their shelves, and within nanoseconds of that announcement and that download, that a consumer would be stopped right there at the scanner and be able to say, you can't buy this product, this has been recalled, period. That should take milliseconds in our society today. It should just simply be a technology issue that we should have put forth. It shouldn't take weeks. People shouldn't have to go and put it in their pantry and find out that a week later, ultimately, that this was a recalled product, if indeed we knew about it that very week. So our job is really here is to hopefully garner the support of the grocers of California, to look at examples like Kroger, like Costco, like the Safeway store my staff went to today and was stopped at one of the scanners and said, can't buy the product. These are the good examples. The problem is we need every store to participate in California, and we need this to be a state policy so that every retailer knows that this is a level playing field where everyone can, in essence, be much safer for their consumers. And that's it's going to be a battle in the legislature, I have no doubt. It always is when we ask the private sector to do something, in many cases that we are mandating. But this is one of those mandates, I think, that consumers absolutely want. The consumers believe, they don't believe, as you know, too highly of Sacramento or government right now, but I do believe that they want their government to protect their food supply. That I do know. And if this is one of those bills that takes us along that path, I think it'll absolutely be a win for all the retailers and consumers in California to know that we have the safest state in the nation that's able to, in essence, give consumers the confidence that they're walking out with safe product, at least safe product at that moment of the day as things change. And we do really would also like to say in the legislation we may continue to adapt the legislation for some of these wonderful cards that everyone has. If you have a Safeway card, if you have a Costco card, if there's a running record of your purchases, I think it's something that we absolutely want to discuss, and that is a product that was recalled 2 weeks later. That a notification, a call go out from a grocer, from a retailer to those consumers, a simple warning saying, hey, you bought product 2 weeks ago, we want to make sure you know that it's recalled. Or the next time they come to the store and they print out a receipt, that on the receipt it ultimately says these are the items you bought in the last couple of weeks and these items have been recalled. It's one more step to give consumers more information. And so I see this bill adapting as we get better information of what the capacity is and the capabilities are from our grocers. And I think we're going to look to all of them to help us figure out this technology issue as we move forward. Any questions? Anybody got any questions?
This is a practical matter. The retailers that are using this now, how does that information get from the recalling agency to the retail site? I mean, is that something that they have to maintain communications on, or?
Yeah, I think it happens like all the other recalls. There's a list, and I think the retailer, unfortunately, I think is put the onus in many cases are put on them to figure out what the recall product is. I do know there's immediate communication between the FDA and some of the folks that put out the recall items. I would tell you that what I would hope for is a more seamless process where, as recalls are absolutely implemented, that there be a place for our grocers to download this information and to match it with their various items, the 2,500 products in many cases, whether it's, I think Alicia said it best, it's not just the peanut butter jar, it's the Sara Lee in the frozen portion, it's pet food, a whole bunch of different items. And the goal is to just make sure that all in real time can be tagged so that when somebody goes to their scanner and they try to scan it, it's stopped right there at the particular site. That would be our goal with the legislation. Okay, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.